on the YouTube side. So just give me a second, y'all. So I can see here. Okay, so it looks like everything is coming through all right. As you guys are joining on in, please let me know that things are good. Let me know where you are joining me from today. I always like to get a feel for where everyone is tuning in. Even if you guys are catching the replay, let me know that too, so I can have an idea on who all is here. And I'm excited to do this live, you guys. This is probably one of the biggest questions I have been asked over and over and over again. So I just sent out a little notification to everyone on my email list. So I'm going to give people a little minute to join on in before I hop into today's topic. Meanwhile, get your questions ready, y'all. I am, as my thank you to you, I will answer any questions that you guys that you guys ask me while I'm on live here. So just give me a second. Let me let all the folks know on Instagram that we are now live. Just a second, y'all. Okay. All right, as you come on in, say, hey, what's up, hello, so that I know who's joining and who all is here. All right, y'all. Okay. All right, guys, so everyone has now been put on notice. We're going to go ahead on in and get started in today's live. So first things first, I definitely want to take a little minute to just introduce you guys who are newer to my channel. What's good? I am Brit Inez. I'm a transformation coach and body goals specialist. I work with women who are ready to become their own definition of body goals. I specifically work with women who have just been really ready to take the results to the next level, whether you're trying to lose those first 10 pounds, or you might be trying to lose those last stubborn 10 pounds. I've had clients who wanted to work with me to lose over 150 pounds, get ready for weddings, get in the best shape of their life, start to get stage ready. So I have done a little bit of it all since I have been working in this space. And intermittent fasting is something that comes up over and over and over again whenever I work with clients, and even just women who haven't worked with me. So this live is long overdue. I have been doing intermittent fasting for years now. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys a little bit about my own personal experience with intermittent fasting, the results I got from it, some of my client results, answer some of your biggest questions, and most of all, let you guys know how to use it to boost your fat loss efforts. So as you guys are coming on in, let me know what questions you guys have around intermittent fasting. My thank you to you is to answer any and all questions that are left live on the stream today. So first things first, I do want to kind of just give a little disclaimer here, because I think a lot of times when I hear this term kind of come up, people are usually telling me things like, and let me know if this has been you. Well, you know, I fell off over the weekend, so I was just thinking of cutting back my calories or doing a little fast or something like that to kind of help me get back on the wagon, right? Or help jumpstart me or something like that. So let me know if that's ever been you, or if that's kind of what you've thought about doing. This is a judgment-free zone, okay? But I do want to kind of get a feel for where you guys are at, because a lot of times I see people turning to intermittent fasting for the wrong reasons, okay? So with that being said, I just want to say first and foremost, intermittent fasting is not a way to, it is not a solution for binge eating, for falling off, for resetting yourself after, you know, falling off, whether it was from vacation or whether you had a stressful week at work and you just ate a bunch of stuff or feeling some kind of way, for giving into cravings when it's that time of the month. It is not a solution to help you recover from that, okay? So let me just say that again. It is not a solution to help you recover from stress eating, binge eating, or anything like that. So if you've ever thought about using intermittent fasting, I'm going to call it IF for the sake of this live stream. When you guys see me post different things on the screen, let me know what caused you to want to try it in the first place. because oftentimes what I hear from so many clients is, I thought this would kind of help give me a jump start. So let me just kind of start by just kind of like breaking the ice here in case someone does not know what is IF, okay? Essentially, it is you are abstaining from eating for a certain amount of time. Now, I'm going to get into in a little bit like the different forms of it, the different styles of it, but it essentially is you're going to go without eating for whether it's 8 hours, whether it's 16 hours, whether it's 24 hours or 36 hours, whatever the case may be. And all it does is put structure around your eating schedules, okay? So a lot of people, they eat from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. Well, if you introduce IF, then you are essentially putting structure around the time that you fast. And if you really think about it, we all fast in a way, because when you're sleeping, you're fasting. You're not eating when you're asleep. Most of us do not wake up middle of the night to eat. If you do, then that might be, you might have some other stuff going on, or you might have another goal you're working on, just whatever case may be. But for the most part, we all are essentially putting our body in a fasted state. Hence why when you hear people talk about doing fasted cardio, they tell you do cardio first thing in the morning. It's because it's fasted. That means you haven't had anything to eat in a certain amount of time, normally 6 or more hours. Okay, so that is what IF is. Now, I have heard a lot of people kind of say things to me like, well, does it make sense for me to kind of do it? Is it going to help me see results even faster? So I am going to get to like what it can do in terms of your fat loss efforts. My own personal experience with IF, I used it. So I did it years ago, okay, before it became like really, really mainstream. I would experiment with it. Why? Because I wanted to see if my body was if it was going to trigger a response in terms of my fat loss. And what I found was that it absolutely did. So when I first started doing intermittent fasting, I would start off at like a really, relatively short window, right? And I'm going to get into the different ones to kind of try and everything in a minute. But I experimented with different ones. And I remember there was one prep, not the one that I did last year. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you guys know I compete, but the prep I did in 2019 season, my coach and I, we did fasting once a week. And I pretty much just told him like, hey, my body responds really well to this. Can we throw this into the mix at least once a week? He was really open to it. And what we found is that it really triggered a fat loss response in my body, because with my body type, there's a certain point when I'm looking to lean out, when I'm looking to get stage ready, the scale is really slow to move for me. I don't have these big drastic, weight loss stories that people have throughout their process each and every single week. My body is very stubborn and slow to release weight. But what we found is that when we did incorporate it, I started to lean out faster. Okay. Now I didn't do it up to a certain point in my prep. We did have to stop it simply because I just didn't have the energy levels to do it. Right. So I am going to talk about when it makes sense to do it, when it doesn't make sense to do it. But since I have been playing with it, I noticed a huge difference in my fat loss efforts. My body is just way more responsive to everything that I'm doing, and it doesn't really require me to have to kind of bring down my fat levels a ton, my food levels a lot, or even increase my cardio output when I am looking to drop some things down and when I do hit a plateau. Let me see. Jada says, I love fasting. Do you do 1 meal a day, a full day water fast? Oh, that is a great question. So when I do fasting, like I said, guys, I have experimented with it for many, many years. I've done everything from the 24 style, which is essentially fasting for 20 hours and eating in a 4-hour window. I have done a 24-hour fast where I will stop eating at like 9 p.m., right? And then I'll break the fast 9 p.m. the following night. I've done a 36-hour fast, and I've done that maybe once or twice. But I really don't like fasting longer than 24 hours. So to answer your question, Jada, when I was doing prep and I was like regularly doing these each week, I was doing a 24-hour fast. So the way that I would do it is I would eat my meal, like my last meal, right? Let's just say around I think it was somewhere between 9, 10 o'clock that night. And then I would break my fast the following night at 9, 10 o'clock, go ahead and eat, and then I go to sleep. Now, the reason why I did it that way is because what happens is when you fast, you'll notice eventually the hunger levels do kind of subside. So what I noticed with fasting with me, when I was doing it, I would have probably like a huge hunger spike, like 4 or 5 hours in. My stomach was like, wait a minute, we ain't signed up for all this. And then I would do liquids only, 0-calorie beverages. I would do black coffee. I'm a coffee drinker anyway. I don't mind drinking black coffee. I prefer it that way. So I would do black coffee. I would do water. I would do tea. Up to a certain point, I would stop coffee because I want to be able to sleep at night. I would do some like 0-calorie beverages, like diet sodas, things like that, but not a whole lot. And then that would just pretty much be it. I wouldn't eat on it. I know some people say, oh, you can eat food and fast, but you're not going to be able to be in a fasted state if you eat, because anything you eat is going to cause a spike in all of your levels. So it's just not going to really work. Okay. So I would do beverages only, 0-calorie beverages, and I would go ahead and eat my meal. So to answer your question, I guess I'll be considered a 1 meal a day, but keep in mind, I will only do that 1 day a week, you guys. That is not something that I would do like over and over and over again. Okay. And when I did break my fast, I would go and eat a meal that was primarily high in protein and fat. Okay. I wouldn't break my fast by eating a meal that had carbs in it, especially because I'm breaking my fast at night and then going to bed. Now, the reason why I stopped doing the 36-hour fast, let me rewind a little bit. The reason why I would eat my meal at night for the fast is because when I broke my fast, that's when my hunger levels would spike. Okay. I was good for the most part of the day up until those last final few hours. And then once I broke my fast, anytime you eat, it's going to cause all your levels to kind of elevate, right? So you're introducing a glycemic response and things like that. That can trigger hunger. So you don't want to derail yourself by fasting and then you're like eating uncontrollably. So it helped me to kind of not do that by making sure my meal was closer to the time I'll be going to bed. That way I could go to sleep, wake up the next morning, and just get back on with the program that I was going to be doing. All right. So a lot of times I'm often asked, like, what's the best one to kind of try? So you had just saw, like Jada had just talked about the 1 meal a day or the full day water fast. So like I said, there's different styles of fast, you guys, out there. The most popular one that I always tell people to kind of ease into if you're thinking about it is 16-8. Because if you think about it, most of us sleep, or we should sleep at least 8 hours a night. Okay. If you're sleeping 8 hours a night, boom, there goes your fasting. Like, you're not even thinking about it. So you're eating for 16 hours of the day. You can begin to kind of shift that to where you can make your fasting window 10 hours, or then you can kind of increase that, make your fasting window. You can make your fasting window kind of like 12 hours, 16 hours, right? All the way up to 20 hours, all the way up to 24 hours. So what I tell people is, when you are really looking at like what's the best one to try, I always like to take into consideration a few different kind of things. One is, what is your lifestyle? I have some clients, and let me know if this has been you. Let me know if you're just not a breakfast person, you're just not a morning person, you're just like, you find yourself not really eating until noon, 1 o'clock, like that lunch hour anyway. Let me know if that's kind of been you, because I have had clients before who work with me and they're just like, well, Brit, I'm not really a morning person. I'm like, okay, well, let's just put some structure around when you're eating and when you're not eating. And then in some cases, it just makes more sense for you to actually do that, simply because you're not eating anyway. So why try and do a meal plan that's going to have you eating outside of a time where you're not even hungry to begin with, right? Because some people just aren't naturally hungry in the morning. So I like to always kind of say, you want to look at like, what are some of your lifestyle factors when that goes into the mix. I've had some clients who are like nurses who work in the medical field. So they're working overnight, or they have other jobs, or they're working overnight. And they're just like, well, I don't really want to worry about like eating when I'm at work. I don't have the kind of job where I can stop and I can eat. I'm like, okay, well, then maybe it makes more sense for us to kind of put some structure around that and just not eat around a certain time. Let me see. Lydia says, not a breakfast person. Yeah. So I have tons of clients who I've worked with in the past who just weren't breakfast people. So I'm just like, okay, well, then let's just start your eating window around 11 o'clock. So 11 o'clock you start eating for 8 hours from the day, from 11 o'clock until 8 hours after that, or however long you're gonna make your fasting window, or however short you're gonna make it. Then you stop eating and then you go to sleep, do what you gotta do. And then the next day you repeat and do the same thing. That has worked really well for some clients who are easing into it, because in the morning time, especially if you're not already a breakfast person, you could just do coffee, you could do water, you could do tea, you could do things like that in the morning, just kind of get you going. And then by the time you're ready to like eat, it's time for you to start your eating window. Okay. So that can be another way for you guys to kind of figure out what style is the best one for you guys to try. Okay. So the next thing I want to kind of get into, you guys, is when should you incorporate IF? Okay. So the thing about it is this: like I said before, I don't think that you should ever turn to fasting as a way for you to fix being inconsistent. Okay. None of these things are going to work for you if you're being inconsistent with your eating. Why? Simply because what happens is when you are fasting, right, and you break that fast, your body is going to be a lot more sensitive to what you're putting into your body. Okay. And by what I mean by being more sensitive is it can hold on to more of what you're putting into it. So if you're eating an overabundance of fats, an overabundance of carbs, right, your body's more sensitive to those things because you're in a fasted state. So if you're not in a position where you are like, okay, on it with your eating, you have some type of structure around your eating, then I wouldn't even recommend you doing like intermittent fasting, because it's just not going to work for you. And it's not going to do anything but create this kind of vicious cycle of you kind of like starting, stopping, and things like that. So like I had kind of mentioned before, it kind of can make sense for you to do it if in fact your lifestyle is such that you're just not a breakfast person, you're not a morning person. You find yourself when you get a meal plan that has a breakfast meal on there, you're just like, ooh, you feel like you're force feeding. So in that case, it can make sense. But in the greater scheme, with what I want to talk about with you guys here, and why I titled this live, how to use IF to boost fat loss, is it can be really powerful when you hit a plateau. So kind of let me know if you've ever hit a weight loss plateau and you've just felt like extremely just kind of unmotivated to kind of keep going, or you found yourself wanting to look for maybe like some fat burners to turn things up a notch. Maybe you wanted to try like a cleanse to try and give you a jump start, or you wanted to try and maybe do some kind of like crazy deprivation, something where you give up carbs, or you cut out one entire food group because you think that's what's going to help you break through this plateau. Because when I share with you guys, for me with using fasting, I did it when my fat loss had kind of stalled. I was no longer leaning out. Okay, so in essence, I had kind of hit a bit of a plateau, and we really didn't want to continue to drop my food any lower than what it already was. And I was already up to doing around an hour cardio a day. Because like I said, you guys, I was getting ready for a show at that time. So it was a situation where, okay, you can only pull so many different levers at a time. So let's introduce this. And the results of it for me, we started really tapping into fat loss, and I started really leaning out. So, and that same thing kind of happened to one of my clients who started doing intermittent fasting with me, because she had found herself hitting a plateau in her weight loss efforts. Okay, so pretty much what happened with her was she had already lost a good chunk of weight. I want to say about maybe 20 to 25 pounds. And we were already, she was already killing it with her workout. She was already on it with eating. She wasn't doing a lot of like excessive snacking, drinking, eating out. She was doing all the things, right? But she had kind of hit this plateau and things just would not budge any longer. Okay. I'm not of the mindset, and I'm not one of these coaches that believe in depriving clients of food and like starving yourself, because I'm all about things being sustainable. So if it's not sustainable, it's not going to work. So what we did with her is, I wanted to keep her food levels high. We started doing fasting like 1 day a week. And within 2 weeks, she hit a new low weight, all-time low weight, okay? Not only that, but the inches started to drop off like that. And it was because she already had a solid foundation, and all she needed was just a little push to help tap into her, kind of like re-trigger her fat loss things to kind of get back started again, okay? But again, let me just kind of reiterate, it was because she had already had a solid foundation of things kind of coming into it, which is why I always tell people, you can do fasting, you can do IF, but if you don't have a solid base, you're not going to really get the full benefit from it. You might lose some, if you're going to wake up lighter the next day because you don't have any food in your system, right? But it may not trigger fat loss, right? Because when you are looking to reshape your body, it's not just wanting the scale number to come down. You want to start to see your clothes fit differently. You want to start to see, more room in your jeans when you go to button them up. You want to start to have more energy, right, to get through your day. Those are the kind of things that you want to start happening. And if you're only losing water weight because you're just abstaining from eating, it's just not going to really give you the ultimate results that you're looking for. Let me see. Jayden says, I've been doing a 16-8, but I've been struggling with eating correctly. I try to have a cheat meal in a week, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm saying, y'all. Like, I think in this case, I'm just going to use you simply because you just kind of said it. If you don't have a solid base of being consistent, fasting is not going to really do too much for you, because if you are falling off, you're having a cheat meal, you're not able to kind of recover from it. So a cheat meal becomes a cheat weekend, a cheat weekend becomes a cheat week, right? You're creating this kind of cycle, this kind of on again, off again, kind of like yo-yoing cycle, right? So when you fast, you're not going to be doing anything that's going to move the needle there, because your foundation isn't really set with where it needs to be. So that's always why I tell people the first things first, build a solid foundation first. And then when your body stops responding to the foundation that you've already set in place, then you can start incorporating fasting. And that's when you start to see the results from it. But I see a lot of people trying to do everything at one time, thinking that I'm going to throw all these things at the wall, see what sticks, and think that everything is going to fix it. And it doesn't really quite work out that way. So yeah, and then too, depending on when you are doing your fasting and you have like a cheat meal, it can cause your cravings to kind of spike even more, okay? So again, it's super important that you guys have like this, that you have like a solid base and a solid foundation, because if you don't, you're gonna continuously do this kind of like song and dance where you go back and forth with fasting, trying to cut out food groups and making up for it by doing excessive amounts of cardio, cutting out carbs one day, and then you're going to kind of do this like vicious cycle of all over and over and over again. You just wind up being completely nowhere, right? So if that's been you, definitely make sure you guys go to snatchedchallenge.com and check out my 21-day Snatch Waist Challenge. I am giving you guys a foundation, so that way you can build all these things into a solid routine, and you don't have to worry about the whole on again, off again kind of thing. You can also work with me one-on-one. If you want more information about that, you guys can, you can email me. A lot of you guys are on my email list already. You can DM me on social media. We can chat about that, because what ends up happening is this: when you hit these plateaus, you wind up being into this cycle mentality of trying to do a bunch of stuff to see what's going to work. Okay. And I call it like a yo-yo kind of diet. And then it can cause you to lead to buying supplements unnecessarily. It can cause you to start doing these cleanses and these detoxes. You're spending $70, $80, sometimes $100, every several months, because you think this new cleanse or this new fat loss supplement is going to be the thing that's going to help you to stick and stay consistent. When in all actuality, you look up and over the course of the year, you probably have spent $400 to $500 on all these things thinking it's going to fix it, instead of just working on the foundation pieces first, laying the foundation pieces. So that way, when you do bring in fasting, it just helps to accelerate your efforts even more. And you're able to sustain the results because you're no longer doing this kind of yo-yo diet back and forth. So definitely make sure if you're ready to break that cycle, you check out my Snatch Waist Challenge. It's 21 days. And the reason why I did it that way is because it takes 21 days to build a habit, and it works on giving you those foundational things in place. It's $49, right? One-time fee of $49. And when you really think about it, over the course of the year, of all the things that you're spending money on to try and like fix this situation of this kind of like on again, off again cycle, you're spending way more than that on supplements, detoxes, cleanses, the whole nine. Okay, so it's a one-time fee. You guys can get started doing it right away. So make sure you guys check it out there. You can also go to my website, gogetherfitness.com. You guys can see all the information there about my 21-day challenge. I also have another free challenge for you guys to check out too if you want to do that, and information about working out with me one-on-one to get a more curated, customized approach to your body goals. But if you guys don't take away anything else from today, just understand that IF is not a solution to yo-yo dieting. When you guys use it with a solid foundation, it can definitely help to boost your fat loss efforts. But I only recommend trying it when you kind of hit a plateau, or if it just makes sense for you to do it lifestyle-wise because you're not really a breakfast person or a morning person or anything like that, okay? So again, let me know if you guys have any questions. Even if you guys are catching the replay, I always like to kind of see what you guys want to know. I do go back and read the comments here, and it's not uncommon for me to look at one of the comments that you guys left on a live stream and to do an entire other live stream to kind of go more into detail about it. Or even kind of create some content around that for you guys to enjoy on my other social media channels. So definitely make sure that you let me know as you are going along here. If you guys enjoyed this live, if you guys enjoy this kind of content, it's super helpful for me to kind of know. That way I know to kind of keep these things coming. It is my goal for you guys this year to get back to doing live streams very, very regularly. When I first started out in my business several years ago, I was doing them like almost every single day. But now I'm trying to get into a more regular pattern with doing these things weekly. Let me see. I'm going to get back to some of the questions that were left here. Libya said, what about these juice fasting like Arden or the new one Revenge Cleanse for like 3 to 5 days? So my whole thing is this, guys, and I have the same response when anyone asks me about any kind of like fasting when it comes to like extended fast. Essentially, especially these juice fasts and these juice cleanses, these detoxes, things like this, think about it like this. All these things are doing is introducing severe calorie restriction for several days at a time, whether it's 3 days, whether it's 5 days. I've seen some of these things be like 10 days long, okay? It's calorie restriction. So yes, you are going to lose weight because if you decrease the amount of food that you're eating for an extended period of time, 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, you're going to drop weight. But what's going to happen? Once you start back eating like a normal person again and eating 3 meals a day or 5 meals a day, you're going to gain a good chunk of that weight back because you didn't lose any fat. What you lost was water. And when you're looking at reshaping your body, you want to lose fat, right? Because water weight comes back, right? I can drink 3 of these and step on the scale and I'm going to weigh probably about 2 pounds heavier. Okay. That's just from that. If I eat something really salty, boom, scale's going to go up. If I decrease my sodium, scale's going to go down. If I stop drinking water for a day, scale's going to go down. If I stop eating for a day, scale's going to go down. But are my clothes going to fit differently? Probably not. Right. So you have to kind of start thinking about it when you're doing these kind of like whether it's the, I haven't heard of the Arden or the Revenge Cleanse, but the principle behind all these things, y'all, they work the exact same. It's you're taking away food. You're only sticking to certain foods. And a lot of times it's juice, it's veggies, it's fruit, things like that. But it's not really teaching you how do you eat so that you can lose fat in a sustainable way that you can make a lifestyle. And that's my problem with a lot of these cleanses. It kind of promises you the moon and the stars, but it's just going to do that. It's just going to give you a little jump start. You then got to have a foundation piece in place. You got to have a game plan on what are you going to do when that's all said and done. Because if you go back to how you were eating, guess what? All the weight that you lost, you're going to gain it right back. And in most cases, you're going to gain even more than you did from when you started it. Okay. Let me see. Jayden says, I've been doing 16-8. Oh yeah, but I've been struggling eating correctly. Yes, we already answered that one. So yeah, guys. So just let me know if you guys have any other questions with fasting. Comment down here. Let me know. Thank you guys so much for checking out my live today. If you guys enjoyed this, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe while you are here.